You're the king of the neighborhood. You bought your house 10 years ago for $400,000. Today, Zillow says it's worth $900,000. You look at that number on your computer screen and smile. You feel like a financial genius. You only owe the bank $300,000. Quick math, $900K, value, $300K, debt, $600,000 in equity. You have over $500,000 stored within the walls of your house. You feel rich, you feel secure. But then life happens, a life event. Indeed, it could be an unexpected job loss, a medical diagnosis that insurance doesn't fully cover, or your business going bankrupt. Suddenly, your monthly income stops, your bank account dries up, but you don't panic. You think, I have $600,000 in equity. If things get bad, I'll sell the house and walk away with a fortune. That's the lie that will destroy you. The first mortgage payment is due. You don't pay. I'll pay next month with interest, you think. The second is due. The third is due. The letter arrives. Notice of intent to accelerate. The bank wants everything. You're still calm. You think, I'm equity rich. The bank will never take my house because I have plenty of capital, and if they try, I'll sell. You decide to test the market. You call a real estate agent. The agent enters your house. He sees the roof that needs repairs, which you ignored because you were short on cash. He sees the old carpet. He says, the market has cooled down. Interest rates are at 7.5%. Buyers are picky. I suggest listing it for $850,000 to sell quickly. You get offended. $850,000? Zillow says $900,000. My neighbor sold for $920,000 last year when interest rates were 3%. I'm not going to give $50,000 of my money to anyone. I want to list for $925,000 because I have room to negotiate. The broker tries to argue, Sir, if we list too high, the house will burn on the market, sit stale. You fire the broker. You're incompetent, you say. You hire another one who agrees with your fantasy price. The for sale sign goes up, $925,000. You sit and wait for offers to pour in. After all, you have $600,000 in equity. You're in control. A week passes, no visits. 2 weeks, 1 visit, no feedback. A month. While the house sits vacant, the bank doesn't. The bank files a notice of default, no D, with the county clerk. Now your financial crisis is public. Suddenly your phone starts ringing. It's not luxury buyers. It's predatory investors. They monitor your foreclosure list. They know you're in default. One of them offers you $700,000, cash, closing in 7 days. You laugh in his face. $700K? Are you crazy? I have $600K in equity. The house is worth $900K. Get out of here, you vulture. You angrily reject the offer. You think, I'd rather keep the house than sell it for that low price. What you don't know is that this $700,000 offer would be the best offer you'd ever see. By rejecting it, you just gambled your $600,000 equity on a rigged roulette table. You chose to hold equity instead of sell the house. And the market is about to teach you the brutal difference between paper value and cash in your pocket. Before we see the market crash, I need to know who you are in the comments. Comment, sell if you would accept the $700K, take your $400K net profit and run for the hills, or hold if you think the owner is right to fight for the fair value of the house. Most people say sell now, but in the heat of the moment, pride speaks louder. Leave a like if you want to see how pride precedes the fall. The month turns. The overdue mortgage accumulates penalties. The house has been listed for 60 days. In the real estate market, a house that has been sitting for 60 days has a scarlet letter. Buyers think, what's wrong with it? Why didn't anyone want it? They start avoiding your listing. You're forced to lower the price from $925K to $899K. Nobody cares. From $899K to $875K, silence. And then you receive the letter from the bank that changes everything. Foreclosure auction scheduled 21 days. The clock has started ticking. You no longer have months. You have days. And now your $600,000 equity is about to face its greatest enemy, lack of liquidity. You try to rush to the bank to request a mortgage-backed loan, HELOC, to cover the arrears and stop the auction. I have $600K in collateral, you tell the manager. The manager looks at your paycheck, which is zero since you lost your job. I'm sorry. We lend based on income, not just equity. Denied. You're sitting on a gold mine, but you're starving because you don't have a pickaxe. In the next chapter, we'll see the desperation of trying to access that money trapped in the walls. You'll fall into the clutches of sale-leaseback companies, predatory schemes that promise to give you the money and let you live in the house, but in reality, steal your deed. There are 14 days left until the auction. You can't sleep anymore. Every time a car slows down in front of your house, you think it's the sheriff coming to deliver the final notice. You're sitting on a $600,000 gold mine of equity, but you can't even buy a liter of milk. It's the cruel paradox of real estate wealth, illiquidity. You tried to sell the house for the fair price, $900K, but the market ignored you. You tried to sell at a discount, $875K, but the bank's clock was faster. Now you don't have time for a traditional buyer who needs 30 days to approve financing. You need cash in 2 weeks. It is in this moment of absolute vulnerability that you find a leaflet stuck in your mailbox. It's not a debt collection notice. It's a bright yellow piece of paper, handwritten, or so it seems, with a magic phrase, "Stop the auction, stay home, we help you. When the bank doesn't, you call." On the other end, a calm and confident voice. It's the foreclosure rescue consultant. He schedules an urgent visit. He arrives in a modest car, so as not to scare you, sits on your couch and says exactly what you want to hear. "Sir, the system is unfair. The bank wants to steal your $600K in equity, but we have a solution. It's called the sale-leaseback program." His proposal sounds like heavenly music. His company pays off its overdue debt to the bank, $300K plus $20K in penalties. The auction is cancelled. They'll give you $50,000 in cash right now to give you some breathing room. The best part, you don't have to move. You continue living in the house as a tenant. Nobody needs to know. The neighbors won't gossip. Your children don't change schools. They give you a buyback option. In 2 years, when you get your job and credit back, you buy the house back from them. You think, this is perfect. I save the house, get $50,000, and buy it back later. I keep my equity. The consultant smiles and puts the contract on the table. We need to sign today to stop the auction. Let's pause the scene and look at the math behind this miracle. This is where the crime happens, hidden in plain sight. Your house is worth $900,000. The company is buying the house by paying off the debt, $320K, plus the cash in your hand, $50K. Total paid by them, $370,000. They just bought a $900,000 asset for $370,000. And your $600,000 equity, you just traded it for $50,000 and the right to pay rent on your own house. But you don't see it. You're blinded by the fear of losing your roof over your head. You sign the deed transfer. The moment the ink dries, you cease to be the owner. You become a tenant. And the rent they stipulate, it's not cheap. They say, since we are venture capitalists, the rent will be $4,500 per month. Your old mortgage was $2,000. Now you pay more than double to live in the house that used to be yours. And what about the buyback option? The fine print says the tenant has the right to repurchase the property in 24 months at the future market value, stipulated at a minimum of $650,000. You sold it for $370K. To get it back, you have to pay $650K. They make a profit of $280,000 just on the repurchase. If you can't repurchase it, which is likely with a rent of $4,500, they keep the house and sell it for $900K. a profit of $530,000. This is called equity stripping. Is it legal? Technically, yes, in many states. Is it moral? It's predatory. But at that moment, with the auction 14 days away, you feel relief. You get the $50,000 check, you pay the auction, you stay in the house. You look at the neighbors and think, they don't know anything. I'm still the king of the neighborhood. But you're a naked king. You're a king without a castle. Before we see the rental nightmare begin, I need an honest response in the comments. Comment, would sign. If in desperation at the prospect of being evicted in 14 days, you would accept this agreement to avoid leaving your home, or out, if you would rather lose your house at auction than give the profit to these scammers. The fear of public humiliation makes people make the worst financial decisions of their lives. Leave a like if you want to warn others about sale leaseback. The first month passes. You use the $50,000 you received to pay the $4,500 rent. It seems sustainable. In 6 months I'll get a job and buy the house back, you say. But the job market is tough. The $50K money starts to dwindle. Month 6, month 7, the money runs out. You still don't have enough income to pay the $4,500 rent. You fall behind on payments. And now you discover the brutal difference between being a homeowner with a delinquent mortgage and being a tenant with delinquent rent. When you were a homeowner, the bank took 12 months to try to evict you. Foreclosure is slow. Now that you're a tenant, the investment firm doesn't need to foreclose. They evict you. Eviction is fast. In many states, it takes 30 days. You receive a notification on your door. 3-day notice to pay or quit. You call the friendly consultant who saved you. Look, I'm a little late, but I have the repurchase option. His voice changed. Now it's cold and corporate. Sir, please read clause 14 of your contract. The repurchase option is automatically voided if the tenant is more than 5 days late on any rent payment. The ground opens up beneath you. You didn't just lose the house. You lost the chance to buy the house back. You handed over $530,000 in equity to them in exchange for living there for 8 months, paying expensive rent. You paid to be robbed. The consultant says you have until the end of the month to leave. If you don't, the sheriff will come for a forced eviction. Remember that $700,000 offer you rejected in part 1? That vulture wanted to give you $700K. You would pay off the $300K debt. You would walk away with $400,000 in your pocket. With $400,000, you could buy a smaller house outright. You would be safe. But your pride said, no, my house is worth $900K. Now, because of that pride, you're going to walk away with zero. Actually, less than zero, because your credit is ruined and you have an eviction notice on your record. In the next chapter, we'll see the ultimate humiliation, the eviction, and the discovery that even after losing your home, the IRS can come after you demanding tax on the sale you made to the rescue company. Yes, you may have to pay tax on money you didn't earn. The tax nightmare is just beginning. The 3-day notice expired on Tuesday. You didn't leave. You had nowhere to go. You barricaded yourself in the room with the lights off, thinking that having owned the house for 10 years, the system would show some leniency. You thought the judge would look at your case and say, poor man, he was cheated, let's give him another 6 months. Big mistake. You're no longer in foreclosure court, where cases drag on for years and judges scrutinize every detail. You signed the lease with the foreclosure company. Now you're in landlord-tenant court. In this court, justice is fast food. It's a summary process. The judge hears 50 cases an hour. Did you pay the rent? No, but eviction order granted. Next. There was no debate about your stolen equity. There was no discussion about the predatory buyback clause. The eviction judge has no jurisdiction over complex real estate fraud. He only has jurisdiction over who has the deed and who didn't pay. The company has the deed, which you signed. You didn't pay. End of story. 5 days later, at 6 a.m., the knock on the door is not polite. It's the sheriff's office. "Open up or we'll break it down. Writ of possession." You open the door, trembling, still in your pajamas. 2 armed officers enter. Behind them is not the friendly consultant who sold you the dream. It's a rough-moving crew, hired by the company. You have 10 minutes to grab your documents and medication. The rest of you go out onto the sidewalk, says the officer. You try to argue, "This is my house. I have $600,000 worth of equity in here." The officer doesn't even look at you. "Sir, this is a civil matter. The deed says it belongs to Eagle Rock Investments, LLC. You are a trespasser now. Leave or you will be arrested for trespassing." You're escorted out. The door slams shut. The locksmith, who was already waiting, changes the lock in 30 seconds. You're standing on the sidewalk. Your neighbors, those you wanted to keep up appearances with, those you refused to sell the house to for $700K so as not to seem desperate, are all at their windows. They see your clothes being thrown onto the lawn in black garbage bags. The humiliation is total. You tried to save face and ended up being evicted like a criminal in front of everyone, but the psychological torture wasn't over. While you're trying to load your belongings into your car, which is also behind on payments, a real estate truck arrives. 2 men get out and plant a sign in the yard. It's not an ordinary sign. It's a luxury sign with gold lettering. "For sale, recently renovated, $950,000. You look at that and feel like throwing up. The investment company isn't going to live there. They don't want to rent to anyone else. That was always their plan. They paid off your debt, $320K, plus gave you a hush money, $50K. Total cost, $370K. They're going to sell it for $950,000. The market has gone up a bit since you appraised it. Their gross profit, $580,000. That money, that $580,000, was yours. If you had sold it for $700K to that vulture investor at the beginning, you would have walked away with $300K. If you had sold it for $850K with the broker, you would have walked away with $500K. Now you're on the sidewalk with $0 in the account. The $50K rescue fee has already been spent on renting it back to themselves. An eviction notice on the public registry, meaning no one will rent you a decent apartment for 7 years. Credit destroyed. You gave away $500,000 to strangers for free because you didn't want to lose $50,000 in initial sale discounts. This is called a greed trap. The refusal to accept a small loss, selling cheaply, led to a total loss. Before we see the IRS's final blow, I need you to take a deep breath and answer in the comments. Comment: pride if you know someone who lost money because of stubbornness in not lowering the selling price, or unfair if you think these sale-leaseback companies should be outlawed. Is it legal? Yes. Is it ethical? No. Leave a like if you're learning that equity isn't real money until you sell it. You get in the car and drive to a cheap motel. That's where you'll be staying for the next few weeks. You turn on the TV in the motel room to drown out the sound of your thoughts. You think, at least it's over. They took everything, but at least I don't owe anything. They paid off the $300K mortgage. But the American financial system is vengeful. A few weeks later, the mailman delivers a letter to your temporary address, post office box. It's from the IRS. You open it, trembling. Notice of deficiency. What is this? It turns out that when the investment company bought your house for $370,000, paying off the debt, it was recorded as a sale. But the IRS has algorithms. They see that a $900,000 house was sold for $370,000. They suspect 2 things. Gift tax. The IRS believes you donated the difference in value to the company and wants to tax it. Or worse, they consider that the forgiveness of any part of the debt or the rental structure generated a taxable capital gain. And since you no longer live there, you were evicted. You lost the exemptions. But the real bombshell comes from the state. The county reassessed the property based on the $950,000 sale the company just made. They discovered you haven't paid property taxes for the last 2 years. The investment company paid off the mortgage, but didn't pay the back taxes on your behalf. It was in the fine print that it was the tenant's responsibility. Now, the county is coming after you personally with a tax lien. Amount $25,000. They can garnish your future wages. You're homeless, broke, and now you owe the government $25,000. And the investment firm, they closed the $950,000 sale this morning. The CEO is popping champagne. He just made $500,000 with your signature. In the next chapter, the final legal twist. You find a shark lawyer who says he can sue the company for predatory lending and equitable mortgage. He says he can prove that the sale was actually an illegal disguised loan. If he wins, you can get your house back, but he wants a $20,000 down payment retainer to start the case. You have $0, but you have a car, and a wedding ring, and a 401k retirement plan. Will you risk your last remaining penny in a legal battle against millionaires, or will you accept defeat and start over from scratch? You're sitting in the office of Shark, the lawyer. He smells of expensive cigarettes and cheap cologne. He flips through the predatory contract you signed with the rescue company and smiles. This is gold, he says. They were too greedy. They bought a $900K house for $370K and let you live in it? That's not a sale. Under our state law, that's an equitable mortgage. He explains the concept that makes your eyes shine with hope. The courts may determine that the sale was actually a disguised loan, and as a loan, the implicit interest rates would be usurious, illegal. We can sue, the lawyer continues. We can seek annulment of the deed. We can seek punitive damages. We can recover your equity. You ask, how much does it cost? I charge $20,000 up front, retainer, to start the fight. We'll take the rest from them. $20,000. You don't have it. You're living in a motel. But you have your 401k retirement plan. You have $25,000 there. It was your retirement money. If you withdraw it now, you pay a 10% penalty plus taxes. You're left with exactly what the lawyer wants. It's the final decision, the all or nothing. You think, they stole $600,000 from me. It's worth spending $20,000 to recover $500,000. The logic of greed gets you again. You withdraw your retirement money, you pay the lawyer. The war begins. The lawyer files a lawsuit, quieting title and predatory lending complaint. He also registers a new lis pendens on the property to try to block the sale the investment firm is attempting for $950,000. For a moment it seems to work. Their sale stalls. The CEO of the investment firm is furious. You savor the sweet taste of revenge. I got you, you think. But the legal system is a slow meat grinder. Months go by. Your motel money runs out. You have to move into your sister's couch. You, who used to own the $1 million house, are now the broke uncle sleeping in the living room. Meanwhile, the lawyers for the investment firm, who are much more expensive than yours, counterattack. They file a motion called Motion to Expunge Lis Pendens. Their argument, Your Honor, the contract is clear. He sold the house. He had a lawyer at the time. Lie. You didn't. He signed because he wanted to. He's just trying to extort money now. The judge schedules a hearing. His lawyer goes, he argues for equitable mortgage. The judge hesitates, but decides the case is complex, but I will not block the sale of the property in the meantime. The real estate market needs fluidity. I will remove the lis pendens, but I allow the process to continue for monetary damages. This sounds like a partial victory, but it's a complete defeat. Without lis pendens, the investment company sells the house the following week for $940,000 to an unsuspecting family, a bona fide purchaser. The house is gone, forever. You'll never set foot in it again. Now, the fight is only about money. The process drags on for another year. You got a new job, earning half of what you used to. You rented a studio apartment in a bad neighborhood, and then the day of the final judgment arrives. Your lawyer calls. "I have bad news and terrible news." "What's the bad news?" you ask, your stomach churning. The bad news is that Eagle Rock Investments LLC, the company that scammed you, declared bankruptcy yesterday. Chapter 7. Total liquidation. You fall silent. "And the worst part?" you whisper. "The worst part is that they were a shell company. They create an LLC for every house they buy. As soon as they sold your house for $940K, they transferred the profit to an offshore account or a shielded parent company and closed the original LLC. What does this mean? It means you might win the case. The judge might bang the gavel and say, "You're right, they owe you $500,000. You'll have a nice piece of paper with a gold seal from the court saying you're rich. But the debtor company has $0 in its account. You have a paper judgment. It's worth less than the toilet paper in the courthouse bathroom. You spent your last $20,000, your retirement savings, to get a useless piece of paper. You hang up the phone. You look around your 30-square-meter studio apartment. You start to laugh. It's the laugh of someone who understood the cosmic joke too late. The mistake wasn't hiring the lawyer. The mistake wasn't signing with the bailout company. The mistake was right at the beginning, in part 1. The mistake was when you rejected the $700,000 offer because you thought $300,000 in profit was too little. The mistake was when you rejected the broker's $850,000 offer because your pride told you it was worth $925,000. You held onto the asset for too long. You fell in love with the appraised value and forgot about the cash value. In real estate, equity isn't real money. It's smoke and mirrors. It only becomes money the day you sell. As long as you don't sell, the equity can be stolen, eroded by the market or devoured by lawyers. The final lesson: you survived. You are alive. You learned that the first offer, first loss, is usually the best loss. If you are in financial trouble, sell the house yesterday. Don't try to save the equity. Save the cash, take the check, however small, and run. It's better to have $50,000 in your pocket and live in a rental with your head held high than to have $600,000 of imaginary equity and end up evicted, bankrupt, and without a pension. I want to ask the ultimate question to conclude this series, and I want you to answer with your heart, not your head. Comment below greed if you admit you've lost money trying to make as much as possible in the stock market, real estate, sales, or fear if you think the fear of losing is what paralyzes people. What destroys more wealth, greed or fear? This story is the story of millions of Americans in the 2008 crisis and will be the story of millions in the next crisis. Don't let this be your story. Subscribe to the channel. Become a financial realist. Because in the next video, we're going to step out of the victim role and into the villain's mind. We're going to talk about squatter nightmare, how to steal a house legally. I'll show you how professional squatters use archaic laws to live rent-free in mansions for 2 years, while the owner pays the electricity bill. And the worst part, how you can protect yourself or become a victim of this. You'll be outraged. See you there.